Hey everybody, welcome to Bible Talk from the Green Room. Journey of a Lifetime. We are in the book of Mark, lesson number 27. We just started the New Testament last week. We're going book by book, getting a quick 2 to 5 minute overview of what is contained in each book of the Bible. It says Mark is known in the New Testament as John Mark, which we know, and he primarily wrote, and his audience was for the Romans here. John was a Jewish name and Mark was his Roman name. That's why both are used there. He was the son of Mary and a cousin of Barnabas, as we see in Colossians 4:10. He was a companion of Paul and Barnabas on their first missionary journey. However, it seems he deserted them, and that's referenced in Acts 13:13. Perhaps because some hardships that were going on at the time, but later he asked them to take him on a second tour, and Paul refused. But what ended up happening is Paul took Silas and Barnabas took John Mark. We see that in Acts 15:36-41. Years later, though, John Mark regained Paul's confidence and was with him at Rome. We see that in Colossians 4:10 and 11, and we also see that in 2 Timothy. Unlike Matthew, Mark does not try to prove certain statements and prophecies about Jesus. He was much more concerned with his deeds than his words. To prove Jesus was the Messiah, instead of showing the fulfillment of Old Testament prophecies, which would have meant little to the Romans and Gentiles there, Mark emphasized Jesus' power by recording his miracles rather than his teachings there. Miracles have a place in Mark that parables have a place in Matthew, because Mark presents Jesus as a servant, while Matthew presents Jesus as a king. A king speaks, but a servant works. And it says, therefore, Mark records over 20 miracles. We call Mark a rapid fire gospel when you compare it to the other three there. In Mark 1:21-34, you find the most complete record in any of the Gospels of a Sabbath day's work in Jesus' life. It goes over extreme details there and very, very deep right there, and talks about that. And it talks about Jesus and the disciples plucking ears of corn, and the Pharisees accusing them of breaking the Sabbath day. To this, Jesus replied, the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. When we get over into chapter 3 there, it says that 7 of the 29 miracles of Jesus and Mark were performed on the Sabbath. That was a fact I did not know. And in chapter 4, we find 3 of the 9 there. It goes over the sower or the souls. It goes over the seed. It goes over the mustard seed. And it goes over the wicked husbandmen or the tenant farmers there. Then we continue to go on through the book here. Chapter 13 contains Mark's account of the Olivet Discourse, which was given in more detail in Mark 24. This section of Mark is distinctly different from Matthew and Luke because there's some things that are left out there, and it just is different. And that's the unique thing of the Gospels, of how each of them have a certain audience they were focusing on, a certain style of writing there, and there were certain things they paid a lot more detail to, and some things that they just gave a brief account of. But when you put them all together, we get the whole picture there. And then Matthew's gospel ends with the resurrection and the Great Commission. Mark closes with the ascension of Jesus and carrying out of the Great Commission. You know, we referred to the Great Commission when we were in Matthew 28, 16-20 or 18-20, depending on how many verses you add to it. And then Luke gives his account here, and basically it says, go you into the world and preach the gospel to every creature, to where Matthew said, go make disciples, baptize people, and teach. So you kind of see the difference there. They're saying the same thing, just one goes in more detail than the other. Hope you enjoyed this lesson. I hope you had a great 4th of July. Remember, kick back, focus on your mental health, and also do a check-in with your family and friends. Thank you for tuning in. I love you all. We'll catch you next time.